Testing, testing. Great to see everyone. If I could ask everyone to take a seat. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Petra Yam, and I've been working with Claudio for a few years now. Got to know him, also a friend, and I wanted to welcome everyone and thank you for being here to honor and remember Claudio Zanelli. Whether you're here on site or around the world, we're broadcasting this live. I wanted to make sure that we all come together with great sadness, but also with a lot of gratitude for a life that touched all of us. And over the last several weeks, I've had the opportunity to connect and reconnect with friends and family on the past and present, to share many special memories of Claudio. Through those stories, one thing is clear. Claudio was a very unique character, someone who can only be described collectively. So today, let us remember, but also let us celebrate. There is a lot to celebrate. He was a man of very strong principle, endless curiosity, and sincere authenticity. And as we reflect, I ask each of you to remember not only Claudio's achievements, but also the small moments, the human moments, the intense debates about nothing, the encouragement to experiment, the push to be great, his support that made all the difference. These are the gifts that endure and last, and together let us celebrate his legacy. Thank you. With that, I'd like to invite Claudio's daughter, Claudio Zanelli, to share a few words.
Thank you. I don't like public speaking, so I'm kind of anxious. It's also kind of long. Writing this has been difficult for me. My dad was an exceptional man and is the epitome of what I would like to be. I hope to emulate him as much as I can, though these are incredibly big shoes to fill. He was highly intellectual, inventive, pensive, knowledgeable, but above the academic achievements and professional accomplishments, he was deeply human. He could reach people in ways that I can't even succinctly describe. The way he listened to you, like he was really listening, and entertained any thought or topic of conversation, no matter how menial or trivial, was a true talent that many, including I, often lack the attention or affection for. The number of times he would interject in a stranger's conversation or begin one out of thin air with someone nearby is too high to count accurately. He was interested in the world and people and what they had to say or think, a trait that I think is increasingly lost in today's time. He was not a passive participant in hardly anything, which again, even I can't say is something I am not. I wish more than anything that he could have indulged in the nectar of the fruits of his labor. Lord knows he loved fruit juice. And Lord knows those fruits were ripe. It brings me immense joy knowing he was happy and excited for his new life, Paris, and perhaps retirement before he passed. Losing him feels like losing a part of my soul. I have never known another who thinks like I do about the world, or cares enough about understanding to discuss the differences. He knew me and my heart profoundly and was unendingly interested in knowing more. The emotional, passionate, philosophical talks we had, beginning in my younger years and up to our last dinner, nourish me. I cling to them during this painful experience. Once again, I don't have the words to express how utterly devastated this event leaves me. His is a global loss. In his absence, I implore us all to attempt to embody my dad's duality. To me, he is an almost perfect representation of the two hemispheres of the brain. The left, responsible for analytical thinking, logical reasoning, math, language, reading, writing, speech. The right, responsible for intuition, creativity, artistic expression, musicality, nuance interpretation, emotional processing. It is rare to find and know someone who can make room to interact equally with both. We so often get uncomfortable with our emotions, passion, and vulnerability. We similarly get fatigued by unrelenting logic, analysis, and learning. I think my dad was capable of overlapping many of these experiences to create a life out of many hardships of science, growth, curiosity, learning and teaching, music, painting, adventure, conversation, debate, introspection, technology, movies, travel, honesty. I wrote a lot of things, and mostly love. All that my dad did and said was driven by love. Love for his work, love for the youth, love for his friends and family and colleagues, even if sometimes he expressed it less explicitly. I encourage all of us here, including myself, to find passion and love in this life and to let them fuel us in the same way. I encourage us all to enjoy this life to the fullest, to indulge in the beauties and splendors this world has to offer. Please don't wait for the opportunities to pass you by. Please be generous, thoughtful, and kind, like he. Speak your mind, be truthful, be brave, be open-minded and inquisitive. This loss is not just mine, it is also all of yours. So I extend my love to all of you who could be here today and to all those who couldn't. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the support.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kalina. That was very beautiful. Now I'd like to ask Claudio's brother, Jorge Zanelli, to also share a few words.
Thank you very much, Petri. Can you hear me? Wait, can I see this? Well, I had prepared a couple of slides, but I don't think you can see them here. Claudio, I have known Claudio longer than anybody else in this place. I have known him since I was born. He was my older brother, so he was always there in my life. He was a permanent presence, and he was always my hero. He was my pal, my accomplice, and my example to follow. He taught me everything I know about many, many, many things. More than I learned from school, more than I learned from my parents. He was my mentor in many things, from science or technology, but long before that, he taught me about playing and inquiry and exploration. We come from a humble. We okay. Our parents were teachers, and they always valued the importance of education. They were the first in their generation, in their families, to complete high school, and they were the first to complete university degrees. And they always thought that we should study and we should pursue everything we could in learning. And I think Claudio is a good example of that. Claudio was inventive. Not only he liked learning, but he liked to do things. And, as you probably, most of you remember, he liked to fix things and to develop things, to invent things. When we were kids, we would make kites, we would make planes. We even made a toy submarine that moved on carbide. And we used carbide also to make bombs and to sell them. Claudio always saw the financial side of the invention. We sold carbide bombs with a calibrated perforation that was perfect for the maximum noise. We survived our infancy doing many dangerous things. We made bombs. We even had a gunpowder cannon that we fired in the backyard. We made rockets. We made many things. We almost set the house on fire. But we learned a lot. And it's impossible to describe how much I admired him and how much I loved him. For me, he was also not only my teacher, he also was my protector. He always was always looking after me. All the dangers I stepped into, he always saved me. He saved me in hard times in Chile. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah. I think that if I had robbed a bank, he would have defended me. He would have objected, but he would have still defend me. He was the kind of person I was always sure that he was going to be there to help me out. But you know him in a different way. You probably met him in from a different perspective. But when I see this, I remember an image of a cathedral in London, St. Paul's Cathedral. St. Paul's Cathedral is a wonderful building that was built by Christopher Wren in the 18th century. And it's a sumptuous cathedral. It's like St. Peter's in Rome, but for the Anglican Church. And it's very elegant. It's full of sculptures and many things in it. And then you see there is a plaque inside the cathedral that I don't know if you can read it there, but it's written in Latin, and it says something like, visitor, if you look for his monument, just look around. Because what I see here, if I look for Claudio's legacy, I just look around, I see all of you. I see the community that he built. His company is not only an enterprise, a financial success, and a technological wonder. It's also a community. And I think that that's the most important part of his legacy. And we would like to keep that. So thank you very much for all you for coming here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. I'd like to continue to ask folks to share their stories and memories of Claudio. And next, I'd like to ask Sam Howard, Onda's CTO, to say a few words.
You can hear me, hopefully, yeah? So, obviously, Claudio was our leader. He was my leader. And of course, this company was very important to him and to us. And I wanted to say a few words about how that fits in. I apologize in advance if it may be a little bit dry, but I think it's worth saying. So basically, my goal here today is to convey a bit about Claudio's professional journey and how that embodied his values and expressed who he was. I wanted to do this because I knew Claudio both as a friend and as a colleague for over 36 years. From the time I got my first job out of grad school at Accuson in 1989, where by coincidence I was assigned Claudio's old cubicle, which he had vacated just the week before in order to leave and start Onda. Pretty soon after starting that job, I made friends with many of Claudio's friends, and in that way I made friends with Claudio himself, well before joining him here at Onda 10 years later. So over the years, I like to think I saw Claudio in action and up close, and also heard a little bit about his previous professional life. So hopefully I'll get at least some of what I have to say right. Here it goes. Claudio came to the U.S. for graduate school, starting at the University of Virginia and then transferring to UC Davis, obtaining master's degrees in physics and electrical engineering and a doctorate in nuclear physics. Unattracted to staying in academia and wanting his work to have a positive social impact, Claudio joined GE Healthcare in the early 1980s, working briefly first in nuclear medicine before transferring to GE's ultrasound imaging group based near Sacramento. These were the early days of modern diagnostic medical ultrasound, with advances coming rapidly, and Claudio was in the thick of it with inventions and patents. Importantly, at GE, Claudio also made many lifelong friends and colleagues with whom he stayed in contact for the rest of his life. After a couple of years, the constraints of a large company started to frustrate Claudio, so he left GE to become an early employee of Endosonics, a startup focused on the then new field of intercardiac echocardiography, where heart and vascular disease is imaged directly from inside the heart or blood vessels using sub-millimeter-sized imaging transducers mounted on a catheter. At Endosonics, Claudio designed an innovative, tiny 64-element circumferential array transducer with an integrated preamplifier that was way ahead of its time. I can tell you that several years later, many of us at Accuson would seriously study his patent because it embodied so many great ideas. Unfortunately, after a year or two, Endosonics ran into some tough times due to the sudden death of its founder, leading to a serious slowdown. And so Claudio left Endosonics around 1987 to join Accuson in Mountain View. Accuson was a real leader in medical ultrasound at the time, medical ultrasound imaging at the time, and was growing rapidly. Claudio contributed greatly to transducer testing, but he wanted to do more. And I guess by this time, Claudio had had it with corporate politics and wanted to be his own boss. Meanwhile, Endosonics had managed to make some progress, generating some money for Claudio through Claudio stock options, which became the seed money for Claudio to strike out on his own. And so, in 1989, late 1989, Claudio started Intech Research, the predecessor to this company, at first as a one-man consulting and contract engineering firm. This, by the way, is around the time I first got to know Claudio personally, socially, through our mutual friends. From what I could gather, Claudio didn't have a specific business plan, just self-confidence that he could help people with their engineering problems by listening carefully for what they really need, letting them know where he thought he could help. And if he knew someone could help them better, he let them know that too. He always hated consultants who seemed more interested in letting you know how much they knew instead of really trying to understand and help a client. And he favored long-term relationships over short-term gain. Unlike many others who went down similar routes, Claudio also avoided pursuing government SBIR grants, which he worried could become exercises in mastering bureaucratic intrigue instead of providing real value to the world, which was his goal. Gradually, throughout the 90s, business got off the ground through a succession of contract development for medical ultrasound company grants and projects. He was helped in this, I think, by the strong demand at the time for medical ultrasound expertise due to the rapidly advancing business opportunities, and many small companies realized it was easier to contract out this expertise, at first at least, to someone like Claudio with his wealth of expertise and inventiveness in order to hit the ground running. And of course, Claudio was always as transparent as possible and eager to collaborate. Claudio's eagerness to collaborate was, I think, key to his personality and the company he built. We saw this time and again with Alan Selfridge's company SEA, which Claudio merged with Intech to form Onda after Alan's untimely death, with Richard Toomey and NTR, and most recently with Pedro Godoy and Juan Bardina from Talc. Claudio made his business stronger through collaboration. Throughout all these years, Claudio was in the lead for so many products and innovations, all while also running the company. We have some examples on display for you inside, which I hope you'll see later. And throughout all these efforts at Onda, here's what I think mattered to Claudio the most. Number one is people. Claudio really cared about everyone who worked for him and really preferred to regard people as working with him. He despised hierarchical management systems and wanted to create an environment where everyone felt valued. Consequently, he was generous, transparent, and trusting almost to a fault. Curiosity, you heard about it. Claudio always wanted to understand how anything worked. And if something you said seemed uncertain to him, he'd ask you questions until either you understood it better or you realized you needed to go back and do more homework. Number three, thinking for yourself. Being willing to challenge conventional wisdom and doing things because you knew that they were right, not just because some authority or some book or something or some bureaucracy said do it this way. Principles, he always stuck to his and inspired everyone else to do the same. Finally, it was really important for Claudio to be in business for the long term, not just for short-term gain, as I said already, but it's worth reiterating. He always wanted to do right by customers and staff. These qualities along with Claudio's integrity, warmth, charm, and technical brilliance, drew people to work with him. In my case, I started working with Claudio on a lark. Because I had known Claudio socially, he had mentioned he could use some help with some simulations, which I could do part-time while working my regular job. After about 6 months, I realized this work, A, really needed more of my time to do it right, and B, was a lot more fun than my job with a big, supposedly established company. So here I am, 26 years later. Claudio, thank you for a wonderful 36 years of knowing you and a wonderful 26 years of working with you. I miss you profoundly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. In just a moment, we're going to open it up to the floor to anybody who wants to also share memories. And as we gather our thoughts, I would like to share a few other stories and comments from across the world. I will also say that there has been a flood of kind words that have been shared. Claudio has touched many people throughout the world. This one is from Professor Luis Gallete from Chile, and he shared very, very nice words. I'll just read it. Claudio's passing deeply affected me and my family. He knew all my daughters and grandchildren and took a genuine interest in their lives and activities. And when he learned that one of them was facing serious health problems, he offered unwavering support and concern. Claudio shared many family celebrations with us and became, in every sense, part of our extended family. We initially tried to shield our grandchildren from the news of this passing, but one day, 8-year-old Samuel told his mother that he needed to speak with her. And in our family, that phrase usually signals that something important is weighing on a child's mind. When she sat down with him, Samuel said he was very sad that Claudio had died and that he would miss the delicious chocolates Claudio brought back every trip. Few things illustrate more clearly the place Claudio held in our hearts. We will always miss him. And I'd like to conclude with a story that captures his character perfectly. At the family dinners where he was a constant and indispensable guest, Claudio developed the habit of quietly clearing the table and carrying the dishes to the kitchen despite our repeated objections. One day, I entered the kitchen through another door and found him happily drinking the remaining juice from the tomato salad bowl. A mixture of tomato juice, olive oil, and a few drops of lemon. And from that day forward, my wife firmly assigned him the task of removing the salad bowls from the table. Claudio, we will never stop missing you. Rest in peace, assuming, of course, that there is nothing in heaven that needs fixing. Professor Gallete, thank you. Now I'd like to ask if there's anyone who would like to share a few words or stories or memories. We welcome it. Yes. Yes. Sorry, Max. Can you please?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
No, that's okay. Just to introduce myself, my name is Max Makijani. I actually help with the sales here at Onda. And after listening to Sam's story, I had to come up and say this. It almost seems like me being at Onda was meant to be. I had an association with pretty much all the names that Sam mentioned. Obviously, Dr. Juan Bardina. He was my first boss when I first started working in 1990. He owned a company called Atcore Corporation. So I was working there as an applications engineer. And then after that, when I transitioned into sales at Crest Ultrasonics, I actually had the good fortune of meeting Dr. Alan Selfridge at Specialty Engineering Associates, which was SEA, because he was a customer of ours. And some of the things that he mentioned there helped actually grow the Crest Ultrasonics product line. He introduced us to the use of ceramics in our transducer stacks and talked about the merits of using ceramics. So, and that helped with the growth of Crest. And then I met Petri, who introduced me to Dr. Claudio Zanelli, and what a thorough gentleman he was. I mean, so everything kind of led to me, actually, it was almost destined to be that I had to be here. I had to work with these fine gentlemen. With Claudio, it was always amazing. You paid last time, Max, you got to pay this time. Fine. So it was my turn to pay one day. And this was during Christmas. And Claudio happened to be here, and I was chatting with him for a while. And I said, Claudio, you want to join us for lunch? And he goes, who's going? I said, Petri and myself. And he goes, sure, I'll go. And that always meant that if Claudio was coming to lunch, he was going to pick up the tab. So I got kind of bailed out of that one. But Petri still says, you owe me lunch. I said, yes. But he was a thorough gentleman, always loved working with him. And I had to share this because he meant a lot. I was shocked to hear of his passing. What a great human being. It's almost like God wants to take away good people faster than he would some of the other people in the world. And so no pun intended about anybody running the country or whatever. But nevertheless, great gentleman, loved him, and I will miss him dearly. So thank you. There you go. Lunch on me next time.
Okay, you got lunch. Yes. Nicholas, please.
Here. Testing. Testing.
Okay.
This is better? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Nicholas Candia. I'm from Chile. I met Claudio before he was my boss. He was a mentor for me for many years. And I want to tell you about, I am a little proof of his compromise with his Chilean community. He invited me to be an intern many years ago here in Onda. And he always was a mentor, my boss, and with the time, a good friend. Always I'm going to miss when he many times called my attention. He called my attention not like a boss, not like a mentor, as a friend. It was so hard to argument with him because you had to have proof like what you're talking about. But never take it personal. Always I take him like a good person, a close person for me. This is in Chile when you finish your test, your exam. It's usually you have like some like a cocktail for all the people. And so I opened the first champagne bottle. So he was next to me. This never happened. So I opened and I saw him and all the champagne. So we shared some time, and then I opened the last one. So he moved to the other side. I guess. I opened and I saw him with the champagne. So he told me, I'm going to discount this for your first check. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. That was great. Yes. Yeah, please.
Good morning to you all. I'm probably close to being the oldest person that was acquainted with Claudio, maybe not. As I look around the room, I was a grad student at Stanford University in the days when acoustics was so there was a band of professors and grad students that were trying to build 10 gigahertz acoustic wave devices. And I left that, went to work for Hewlett Packard, and we got into building a cardiac ultrasound imaging equipment. And there were a number of companies at that time that were competing with us, including GE. And I later learned from Claudio that he and I were probably competitors. The GE machine was really a tour de force. It was an amazing machine. It was beyond its time, and unfortunately it was too complex and too expensive to make it in the marketplace. So and then one of the persons, going back to the Stanford connection, was Alan Selfridge, who was a grad student. We referred to him as a hippie capitalist, and he was pretty close to being a communist, I think, or a socialist. I never knew quite what his political leaning was, but it was quite different. But he also ran side things with supplying grad students, and he did not follow the usual trail of going to work for a big company, but went off and didn't start a company, but he encountered the widow of a guy named Nate, who built these bomb blast detectors for atomic bombs. And he suddenly died, leaving his widow with a business that she didn't know how to run. And Alan, I may have introduced him. I kind of knew the guy as well, but at any rate, Alan was a technologist with no money. So they made a deal. And that was the first incarnation of the company. And then after some years, Alan upped and died. So here he is, he's leaving a widow behind with a company but no expertise and needs somebody to run it. Along came Claudio. And I don't know if this is going to continue this pattern or not. I'm hoping somebody will tell me just exactly how Onda is going to continue, but it seems to be that there are widows and bright young men involved in the process of this company. Well, back to Claudio. Eventually I did meet him at a conference or something, and he confessed that he had been working on this ultrasound system, and I had been publishing papers, so I was well known, but GE just published it off, and they didn't make much of a big deal about it. And I liked the guy. I really liked Claudio. He was one of those rare people that you just meet him, and 30 seconds later, I want to be this guy's buddy. And I made it a point of keeping in contact with him over the years. Met Sam, come and talk about crazy ideas, try to interest him in stuff that I was doing, but I was never going to make it in the super big industrial world. And he'd always listen patiently and say, that's a nice idea, and move me on. I really like Claudio. He's a tremendous man. We've heard his accomplishments, but he's just a wonderful human being. And I was shocked when I saw the announcement. I really didn't expect Claudio to predecease me. So unfortunately, he won't be able to come around and tell any stories about John Larson. But I see so many people that I'm sure that Claudio handpicked you. It looks like Claudio clones, and he was a delightful person.
Thank you. That's great. Great, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Sean, please.
My story is a little different because it's not about the technology or about the company or, well, sort of about the company, but about Claudio as a person. When I first met him and he invited me to come work with them, I didn't know what to expect, but as I got to know him, the thing that really touched me was the humanity of the person. It's like it was deep inside him. He wasn't wearing things to impress people or to be a nice guy or anything else. It was just who he was. And beyond that, his humanity, when I say it's deep, he was a person that felt a lot. He didn't always express it, but inside he had really deep feelings about the people he worked with, really deep feelings about what's appropriate in his life and what he put his priorities on. And then I'll tell you another story. Now I get a story. So I was sitting in his office and we were working together once, and he wanted to talk to he was making this big decision about this guy, and it had to do with money and stuff, and how to approach it and this and that and on. And I said, well, why don't you just talk to the guy? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, call him now. And he looked at me like, are you kidding me? And I said, no, call him now. And he was afraid of being rebuffed because he was a sensitive guy, So he got on the phone, he called the guy, and it worked out kind of okay. I mean, I don't think the deal ever happened, but it was just an interesting thing that I saw in him, like, why would someone that's supposedly big and powerful and everything else be so timid about making a call, But that's, he thought things through to extremes, so, he was thinking like, well, what if this happens and what if that? And I said, you're never going to know until you make the call. So, and then another story that sort of about his character was, I was working with him and we were in his office, and I said, Claudio, this is something I often ask people. I said, tell me a movie that made an impression, movie you saw when you were young and made an impression, and today you still feel it has an impression on you. And he goes, oh yeah. And I go, okay, what is it? And he goes, Easy Rider. And I'm going, kind of like Easy Rider. But that was, it's a metaphor for his life. And the metaphor is he wanted to be free, he wanted to be on his own, and he wanted to be going somewhere. And that movie symbolized that in ways that inspired him in some who knows what way. And people are complicated, let's face it. So when you come across somebody like that, you just immediately love that person. And I loved him deeply. I really miss him.
Thank you, Sean. I think it's clear he's touched many of us. Mahbub, did you also want to say a few words? Great.
Hi, my name is Mahbub Qadri, and I knew Claudio for last 35 years. I came to U.S. to pursue my grad studies, and after graduating, I moved to Bay Area, and I was looking for opportunities. You heard the name Alan Selfridge, so I got a chance to meet Claudio through Alan Selfridge, and he hired me as a number 3 employee at Intech Research. This is back then when he was working by himself and Barbara. He took a massive chance on me, putting his faith in a fresh graduate and making me that employee number 3. This wasn't just my first professional break, but it was a foundation for my entire career in the United States. I owe him a lot. Intech Research quickly grew from a startup to a small, true family. We shared a unique electric bond fueled by Claudio's brilliance and his belief in what we could achieve together. I always look back at those 5 years with immense pride and fondness. I'll never forget the grueling exhilaration for preparing for IEEE conferences and putting putting together the first Optison that we brought to life. This was the system to visualize and quantify ultrasound waves, and successfully put it in the hands of industry pioneers at Acuson, Diasonics, and ATL. Claudio didn't just build a successful company, he fostered an environment of innovation, trust, and deep camaraderie. He altered the trajectory of my life, and I'm profoundly grateful to him for knowing him as a mentor, a leader, and a true friend. Rest in peace, Claudio. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Mahbub. I did want to share a few more, or maybe at least one more. We all know the deep connection Claudio has with Chile. In fact, this summer we are welcoming another individual joining from Professor Gaete's group, Marcelo Carrion. And he's touched so many people in so many ways, many of which I'm learning about. But Marcelo had shared a few words, which I'd like to share. The passing of Professor Claudio leaves a void that will be deeply felt by all of us, not only for the brilliant researcher he was, but for the extraordinary human being he chose to be with each and every one of us. Whenever he found himself in Chile, he never missed a chance to stop by our lab, and those visits meant more than words can express. We will forever cherish the warmth of those lunch conversations where knowledge and laughter flowed in equal measure, where science gave way to stories, and a shared meal became something much more meaningful. We will smile, remembering his playful attempts to outsmart Professor Gaete, and quietly pick up the bill. A small gesture that spoke volumes about his generous spirit. And we will never forget those moments when, just as everything was set and ready, a spark of curiosity in his eyes meant we had to take it all apart and start again. Because for Professor Claudio, the pursuit of truth was always worth the extra effort. He leaves behind not just his legacy as a scientist, but the memory of a man who made everyone around him feel valued, inspired, and a little more alive with love. These testaments are just an example of so many lives that Claudio has touched. And I want to encourage you to continue to share with each other. But to proceed at this point, I would like to ask for a moment of silence so we could reflect. Thank you all. Thank you again for all that have shared. It's clear that Claudio was unique, but that uniqueness was consistent among everyone. Now, as a part of our service, I'd like to invite each of you to participate in a flower tribute. Where's Alex? And in a few moments, we'll invite you to come forward, and I'll ask that everybody circle around this side. You'll select a flower, and we'll place it on the table, symbolic of some reflection. As you make your way, please continue to make a left turn here and proceed to the memory room that has been prepared. Along the way, there's some refreshments there. But there's two rooms. There will be one room in the corner, which showcases just a very limited amount of some of the technologies he's developed. His office is also open to just see his workspace and to get a better understanding of his environment. And I think you'll find a lot of these items represent his curiosity, his creativity, as well as his intellect. Following that, we will have a reception at a restaurant called Fleming's. It's about 3 miles away. On the back of your program, there's directions, and we hope that you all join us there. And so for now, if we can start gathering on this side.
car gets returned. Yeah, not a priority.
Hello everyone. I would like to say goodbye to Claudio. He was my best friend, an awesome person, and a great engineer, and a wonderful mentor. I am deeply saddened, and I know he will be missed by his family and all of us who had the privilege of being part of his life. I hope his legacy lives on, as we say in Chile, fly high, my friend.
I got that.
We were deeply saddened to hear the passing of Sir Claudio. We are grateful for guidance, leadership, and the opportunities you gave to us. Your wisdom, dedication, and kindness left a lasting impact on our lives and the lives of many others. Sir Claudio will be remembered not only as a great leader and mentor, but also a remarkable person who inspired those around you. Our thoughts and prayers are with your family and loved ones during this difficult time. May you rest in peace. Your legacy will continue to live on through the people you mentored and the lives you touched.